He sat across from me at a table full of wedding cake samples, smiling while he planned his exit. My fiancé looked me in the eye, kissed my cheek, and then sent a text message 5 minutes later that ended my world. "You're sweet, Riley, but I don't see you as wife material. You're just not on my level." He thought I was just the quiet girl who organized his life and kept his house clean. He thought I was the safe choice he could discard the moment his flashy ex-girlfriend whistled for him. But he forgot one very important thing. I wasn't just his girlfriend. I was the engine behind his entire career. He thought he was a self-made tech genius, but he was just a puppet, and I've been holding the strings for 3 years. Today, I'm cutting them. By the time this story ends, you'll see exactly what happens when you tell the woman who built you that she is good enough for you. Stick around, because the look on his face when he realizes he's lost his job, his house, and his reputation all in one afternoon is something you don't want to miss. Before I show you how I dismantled his life piece by piece, drop a comment below. Have you ever been told you weren't enough by someone you gave everything to? Tell me where you're watching from. I want to know who's out there listening to a story about a woman who stopped being sweet and started being a nightmare. Like and subscribe if you believe that loyalty is a two-way street, and if someone breaks it, they deserve to pay the toll in full. My name is Riley Camden. For 3 years, I was the woman behind Jason Vance. If you saw us in public, you'd see a power couple. Jason was the charming sales executive at a top-tier logistics firm, always in a tailored suit, always the loudest laugh in the room. I was the project manager who worked in the shadows. I was the one who edited his proposals, coached him through his meetings, and literally wrote the scripts he used to close million-dollar deals. We were 3 months away from our wedding. I had the dress, the venue, and a color-coded binder that tracked every cent we spent. Then came that Tuesday at the bakery. The air smelled like vanilla and sugar. I was excited. We were tasting lemon curd and dark chocolate. Jason was cold. He kept looking at his phone, his leg bouncing nervously under the marble table. "I have to go," he said suddenly, standing up before the baker even brought the contract. "Jason, we're in the middle of this," I whispered, embarrassed. "I can't do this right now, Riley. I'll text you." He walked out. The bell over the door chimed, sounding like a funeral knell. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed in my hand. "I can't marry you. I need someone more exciting. You're just not on my level, Riley. You're sweet, but not wife material. I'm going back to someone who actually challenges me." I stood in that parking lot, the afternoon sun burning my skin, and watched his car disappear. I didn't cry, not yet. Instead, I felt a cold, sharp clarity. He was going back to his ex, Brittany. The woman who had dumped him 3 years ago when he was broke and struggling. The woman who only wanted him now because I had turned him into a success. I went home to our shared apartment. Half his closet was already empty. He had planned this. He had been moving out while I was picking out flower arrangements. He left a toothpaste ring in the bathroom and a hole in my chest. But as I sat on the edge of our bed, I realized he had left something else behind. His company laptop was sitting on the desk. He had forgotten it in his rush to get to Brittany's house. I opened it. I knew his passwords. I was the one who set them up. I saw his emails. I saw the messages to Brittany. "I'm almost there, babe. I finally dumped the boring girl. I'm ready for the big leagues now." The big leagues. Jason didn't realize that I didn't just work at the same company as him. My uncle was the CEO, and I was the one who had secretly fast-tracked Jason's promotions. He thought he was a lion. I was about to remind him he was just a house cat I had let sleep on the bed. The next 48 hours were a blur of fake news and betrayal. Jason didn't just dump me. He started a smear campaign. I started getting messages from our mutual friends. "Riley, I'm so sorry. Jason told us you were the one who cheated. Said you were emotionally distant and that the wedding had been off for weeks." He was rewriting history to make himself the victim. He wanted to walk into his new life with Brittany with a clean slate. He even told his parents that I was the one who checked out. His sister, Melissa, was the only one who called me crying. "Riley, he's at Brittany's mom's house," she whispered. "He told everyone you guys agreed to this. I knew he was lying. He's acting like he's a king now that he got that big promotion." That big promotion. It was supposed to be announced on Friday. It came with a massive bonus and a corner office. Jason thought he had it in the bag. He was already celebrating with Brittany, spending money he hadn't earned yet on expensive dinners and a new watch. I spent that night staring at the ceiling. The silence in the apartment was heavy. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that text, "Not on my level." I thought about all the nights I stayed up until 2:00 a.m. fixing his spreadsheets so he wouldn't look stupid in front of the board. I thought about the time I handled the crisis with the Chicago shipping docks while he was out golfing, letting him take the credit so his confidence wouldn't bruise. I had shrunk myself to make him feel big. I got out of bed and sat at the kitchen table. I pulled out my own laptop. If Jason wanted to play in the big leagues, he needed to learn the rules of the game. Rule number 1, never betray the person who knows where all the bodies are buried. I started by calling the wedding vendors. I didn't just cancel, I redirected. The deposit for the venue. I didn't ask for a refund. I told the coordinator I was throwing an independence party instead. The florist. I told them to send the black roses to Jason's new office. Then I looked at the company files. Jason had been padding his expense reports for months to take Brittany out on business lunches while we were still together. He thought he was being slick. He thought because I loved him, I wouldn't notice the missing receipts or the weird charges on the corporate card. He was wrong. Thursday morning arrived. I walked into the office wearing a suit that cost more than Jason's car. I didn't look like the sweet girl who liked rustic centerpieces. I looked like the woman who ran project operations for a multi-million-dollar firm. I walked straight into my uncle's office. "Uncle Jim," I said, sitting down. "We need to talk about Jason Vance." My uncle looked up from his coffee. "He's a star, Riley. That promotion on Friday is going to change the company. You two must be thrilled." "We aren't we anymore," I said. I laid out the expense reports. I laid out the logs of his computer activity showing he was sharing proprietary company scripts with Brittany, who worked for a competitor. My uncle's face went from confused to livid. "He's leaking our logistics software. He calls it showing her his world," I said coldly. "He thinks he's on a higher level now. He thinks the rules don't apply to him." I didn't stop there. I spent the rest of the day systematically removing Jason from every project I had built for him. I revoked his access to the server. I flagged his accounts. I did it all quietly with the precision of a surgeon. That night, Jason actually had the nerve to call me. "Riley, babe," he said, sounding smug. "I'm coming by the apartment tomorrow to get the rest of my shoes. Make sure you're not there. Brittany's coming with me and I don't want it to be awkward for you." "Oh, it won't be awkward for me, Jason," I said. "Good. Look, I know you're hurt, but try to be professional. I'm going to be your boss soon, and I'd hate for your emotional issues to get in the way of your job." I almost laughed. "I'll see you tomorrow, Jason. Good luck with the big announcement." I hung up and sent a final email to the entire board of directors. It wasn't a rant. It wasn't a scorned woman letter. It was a 50-page audit of Jason's incompetence and fraud, backed up by every script I had ever written for him. I blind-copied Brittany's boss at the rival company, too. If she wanted a high-level man, she was about to see exactly what he looked like without me holding him up. Friday morning. The office was buzzing. This was the day of the quarterly meeting. Jason walked in wearing a white carnation in his lapel. Brittany was on his arm, dressed in a red dress that screamed, "Look at me." They walked through the lobby like they owned the place. I stood by the coffee station watching them. "Hey, Riley," Jason said, stopping in front of me. He didn't even look at me. He was too busy checking his reflection in the glass wall. "Hope you're doing okay. Maybe you can find someone more. Your speed soon. A nice accountant, maybe." Brittany giggled. "She's so sweet, Jason." "Don't be mean." I just smiled. "The meeting is in room A, Jason. You don't want to be late for your big moment." The room was packed. The board was there. The investors were there. Jason took his seat at the front, grinning. My uncle stood up. "Before we begin," my uncle said, his voice booming, "we have a change in the agenda. We've discovered a significant security breach within the sales department." Jason's grin faltered. He shifted in his seat. "It seems one of our employees has been using company funds to entertain competitors and has been claiming credit for work that wasn't theirs," my uncle continued. A slide appeared on the big screen. It wasn't a promotion announcement. It was Jason's expense report, highlighted in bright red. The charges for La Valoris, the restaurant where he took Brittany the night he told me he was working late. The room went silent. I watched the color drain from Jason's face. He looked at me, his eyes wide with terror. I just gave him a small, polite nod. "Jason Vance," my uncle said. "Security is waiting in the lobby with your things. You are terminated effective immediately. We will also be filing a civil suit for the recovery of the embezzled funds and the breach of your non-compete." Brittany stood up, her face twisted in embarrassment. "Jason, what is this?" I can explain, Jason stammered. There's nothing to explain, my uncle said. And as for the wife material comment you sent to my niece, consider this your first lesson in levels. You weren't on hers, you were just riding her elevator. The security guards walked in. They grabbed Jason by the arms. He looked small. He looked pathetic. Brittany didn't even follow him out. She sat back down, trying to distance herself, but her phone buzzed. It was a message from her own boss. She had been fired, too, for receiving stolen company data from Jason. I walked out of the room as they were being escorted out. I met them in the hallway. Riley, Jason yelled. You ruined my life, you planned this. I stopped and looked at him. I reached into my bag and pulled out a single lemon curd cake sample I had saved from the bakery. I handed it to him. You're right, Jason. I'm a project manager. I plan things. And you were just a project that didn't meet its goals. I walked away, the sound of my heels clicking on the marble floor. 2 weeks later, I heard that Brittany left him. Turns out, she didn't want a high-level man who was broke and facing a lawsuit. Jason moved back into his parents' basement. He sent me an email begging for a second chance, saying he realized his mistake. I didn't reply. I was too busy. I had a new promotion to handle, a dog named Murphy who actually loves me, and a life that isn't a straight line anymore, it's an upward climb. And the view from here, it's perfect. Looking back, the bakery parking lot was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to stop building someone else's throne and start building my own. People think sweet means weak, but they forget that the most organized people are the ones you should fear the most. We don't scream. We just adjust the schedule. Jason thought he was leaving me behind. He didn't realize that I was the one who had been carrying him. Now I'm lighter, I'm faster, and I'm finally on my own level. If you enjoyed this story of justice served cold, make sure to hit that like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more stories of people who finally stood up and took back what was theirs. Remember, your worth isn't defined by what someone else sees in you. It's defined by what you know is true. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.